What's up, guys? And so, for this assignment, I wanted to explain it to you, but I am going to be reading a little bit from the Paul Revere story some more to get to the point of that we're going to be covering today for your assignment. All right, so let me just read, follow along, and really listen, because you're going to have to give me this on a separate sheet of paper. So watch this. When the English colonies no longer feared attack from the north, people dared settle farther inland. Even places as far away as wild as Kentucky were being settled. For some years, the British had been buying supplies in Boston for their soldiers and sailors in America. Farming and shipping and manufacturing had all grown to meet the demands of war. Although many families were sorrowing for men who had been killed, people on the whole were doing well and could afford to buy fine silver. Paul Revere continued to live in his little house at the head of Clark's Wharf and to make his famous silver. But suddenly this prosperity was over, and there was a bad depression. A depression is when there's just no more money. There's nothing can be sold or traded. England, who had the largest empire the world had ever seen, was also feeling very poor, and she had no idea how to lead her vast possessions. The colonies had always agreed that England had the right to control their shipping and to collect money from them, but she had been too busy fighting to bother. Now, at peace, England decided to enforce some old laws and pass some new ones and collect the customs. Boston had been sending her ships where she pleased. She was angry that England now intended to make her obey the laws made in London. So now England is trying to make these laws in the Americas in Boston because of this depression, because there's no money. So now England is going to all of a sudden come up with these laws that they made in London. They didn't make these laws in the Americas, they made them in London. No American had a chance to vote on these laws. Now that made the Americans kind of mad. Like, you're enforcing something that we didn't have the opportunity to give to. We didn't vote on these laws. We didn't decide on these laws. We're Americans. You're from England, and you're going to come here and bring laws here that we had nothing to do with. This is important. Watch this. Both England and the American colonies thought there should be a British army of 10,000 regulars kept in America as protection against the Indians. But who was to pay for it? England insisted that the colonies should pay. And because the customs officials could not get enough money for the army by taxing shipping, she decided to tax something else. So the English Parliament passed a Stamp Act. This meant that all papers, such as marriage certificates, mortgages, or bills of sale, had to have a stamp on them before they were considered legal. Even newspapers could not be sold without a stamp. This was the first direct tax upon the people. Remember, upon the American people. And all up and down the eastern seaboard, men sprang to their feet and cried that the colonies must never agree to any tax unless they could select the men for Parliament who voted these taxes. Taxation without representation is tyranny. There were no colonists in the British Parliament when the Stamp Act was passed. So now, there's no Americans in the Parliament to vote on this. And so what they're saying is, okay, you want to tax us, but we didn't have the opportunity to vote. And now you want the Stamp Act. So every certificate has to have a stamp, which is going to be taxed, which is where you're going to get money from us. Taxation without representation is tyranny. Tyranny means when somebody is ruling over you with an iron rod. They are like your master. And what they're saying is, when you're taxing us, but we don't have any representation from America, we didn't get the chance to vote. So this is wrong. Let me read to you really quick. Let me read to you what the internet says about taxation without representation. Because you're going to have to give me this in your own words, and want an example too. A phrase generally attributed to a man by the name of James Otis in about 1761 that reflected the resentment or the anger of American colonists at being taxed by the British Parliament, to which they elected no representatives, and this became an anti-British slogan before the American Revolution. Taxation without representation is tyranny. So again, let me make this clear. They resented the fact that Americans were being taxed by the British, but the British did not let Americans vote to come up with these laws. And so that's where they came up with this anti-slogan. Anti means to be against. They came up with this anti-slogan of taxation without representation is tyranny. It's wrong. It's evil. You can't tax us if you didn't give us the opportunity to represent ourselves, to vote, to think of the laws. You just want to come here and do what you want to do. Taxation without representation is tyranny. Now, I want you to, on a separate sheet of paper, you're going to explain to me in your own words what this is. I said a lot. Do your research. All right. I know you can do it.